Hello, my name is Dr. Donald Robinson, and I'd like to take a few moments to talk to you about who's running your life. First, let's start with a little mental exercise. I would like for you to think of the 5 most important people in your life. Who are the 5 most important people in your life? Get a mental picture of them. You don't have to write them down. Just kind of get a mental picture of who's important in your life. Who's number 1? Who's number 2, 3, 4, 5? There may be some ties in there, but that's okay. Just a general idea of who the 5 most important people in your life are. You got it? Okay, now let me ask you a couple of questions about your list. First of all, were you on the list? Many people don't put themselves on their list, and we'll talk about why in just a minute. If you were on your list, were you number 1 on your list? Most people will never put themselves number 1 on their list, but it's very important to do so. I would like to encourage you to learn to put yourself number 1 on your list. And let me tell you why. Most people don't put themselves number 1 on their list because they're afraid it would be conceited or self-centered. But let me ask you another question. If you weren't number 1 on your list, whose list are you on that you're high on the list or number 1 on their list? And which is more self-centered, to be number 1 on your own list or to expect to be number 1 or high on somebody else's list? Obviously, it's much more self-centered to expect to be on somebody else's list than having them think about you. You need to be thinking about yourself, and so you need to be number 1 in your life. You don't need to worry that it'll make you conceited. It's the people who don't put themselves number 1 in their life who are conceited. They aren't even on their own lists, and so they go through life expecting everybody else that they come in contact with to take care of them or to do things for them or to help get them what they want. But it's so important to be number 1 in your life. After all, God gave you your life to live, and He gave you the freedom to make choices, and you need to take charge of your life. And very few people take charge of their life. They're influenced by many things around them. We're all influenced by the advertisements. They're attempts to run our life. They want us to buy the products or services that they're selling, and so they encourage us to think along their lines and to do what they would like for us to do. And that means, in a way, they're running our lives. The more you learn about yourself, the more you will take charge of your life. And it's taking charge of our life that's so important. After all, what is life more than making a lot of decisions? You're constantly making decisions all day long. Many of them very minor decisions, some of them very major decisions that affect the rest of your life. But nevertheless, you're making decisions. Or someone said to me, I'm not going to make a decision. Well, they just made a decision. Harvey Cox, in his book, The Secular City, said, not to decide is to decide. And so we're always making decisions, whether we realize it or not. I hear people oftentimes say, well, I want to let God make my decisions. I'm waiting for God to tell me what to do. Well, that's nice, except that God said, I already gave you your life. I had it to start with. It'll come back to me when life is over. But in the meantime, it's your life. I want you to run it. And after all, who decides when it's God speaking to us or when it's our own thoughts? It's us who makes that decision. Each one of us makes our own decisions all of the time. You can't avoid decision making. And so we want you to be in charge of your life. And that means putting yourself number 1 on your list and doing some thinking. And so in the future, we're going to be talking a lot about decision making, a lot about ways to make healthy decisions, a lot of ways that you can use, a lot of tips that you can use that will help you improve the quality of life. So for this time, this is Dr. Don, encouraging you to take charge of your life for a better tomorrow.